Jai Hind everyone. Welcome to my YouTube channel which is Explore Yourselves, Banking and General Knowledge etc. Today I will talk about the life and legacy of Thakur Ramakrishna Paramahansa. Today we remember one of the greatest spiritual masters of India, Thakur Ramakrishna Paramahansa, whose life was a living example of purity, devotion and the realization of God. Born in 1836 in a humble village of Bengal, he rose above worldly limitations and showed the world that all religions lead to the same truth. His simplicity, his childlike faith, and his universal message of harmony continue to inspire humanity even today. On his death anniversary, we pay homage to this divine soul and revisit the extraordinary journey of his life. India has always been a land where spirituality has blossomed. Through centuries, saints, sages, and mystics have illuminated the path for seekers of truth. Among these luminaries, Thakur Ramakrishna Paramahansa, 1836 to 1886, occupies a unique and exalted place. His life was not that of a scholar, reformer, or philosopher in the usual sense, but that of a man who lived and breathed God every moment of his existence. In his childlike simplicity, in his boundless love, in his fearless search for the divine across religions and traditions, he showed humanity that God is not an idea but a living reality. On his death anniversary, remembering him is not merely a matter of paying homage to a departed saint. It is an invitation to reflect upon his timeless message of devotion, harmony, purity, and universal love. His life story is not just history, it is an eternal inspiration. Early life in Kamarpukuru. Ramakrishna was born as Gadadhar Chattopadhyay on 18th February 1836 in the quiet village of Kamarpukuru, situated in the Hooghly district of Bengal. His father, Khudiram Chattopadhyay, was a poor but deeply religious man devoted to Lord Rama. His mother, Chandramani Devi, was a pious woman known for her simplicity and faith. The family lived in modest circumstances. Their house was small, their resources meager, but devotion filled their lives. From his parents, young Gadadhar inherited deep faith, honesty, and a natural tendency towards spirituality. Even as a child, he displayed unusual qualities. He loved listening to stories from the Ramayana, Mahabharata, and Puranas. While other children engaged in games, he preferred devotional songs and spiritual gatherings. From a young age, mystical experiences came to him spontaneously. One of the most famous incidents occurred when he was about 6 years old. Walking in the paddy fields, he saw a flock of white cranes flying across a dark, rain-laden sky. The contrast filled him with such overwhelming beauty and wonder that he lost external consciousness and fell into a trance-like state of samadhi. There was no ordinary fainting spell. It was the beginning of many such spiritual ecstasies that would define his life. Though he was sent to the village school, Gadadhar was not drawn to conventional education. He disliked rote memorization and worldly subjects. Instead, he devoted himself to art, music, and devotional recitation. He could sculpt images of gods, sing kirtans with deep feeling, and dramatize stories from epics with such sincerity that villagers often mistook him for being truly possessed by the spirit of the characters he portrayed. His father passed away when he was young, and this loss deepened his sensitivity. Yet instead of weakening him, it brought a profound seriousness to his spiritual yearning. He was no longer content with rituals or second-hand knowledge. What he wanted was direct experience of God. Arrival at Dakshineswar. The turning point of his life came when his elder brother Ram Kumar took him to Kolkata. There Ramkumar served as a priest at the newly established Dakshineshwar Kali temple built by Rani Rasmani, a wealthy philanthropist. When Ramkumar passed away, Gadadhar, then still very young, was appointed the chief priest of the temple. It was there at Dakshineshwar that his extraordinary spiritual journey unfolded. Unlike ordinary priests, Gadadhar did not see the image of Mother Kali as a mere idol. To him, she was the living, breathing Divine Mother. When he dressed her with ornaments, when he sang before her, when he offered food, he did it not as ritual but as an act of direct service to a real presence. His longing for the vision of the Divine Mother grew so intense that he often wept bitterly in front of the idol. He would cry, roll on the temple floor, or spend entire nights in prayer, asking, Mother, are you real? Show yourself to me, or I cannot live. His yearning was so sincere that on several occasions he thought of ending his life if the mother did not reveal herself. At last the divine answered. After years of this heart-wrenching yearning, Gadadhar experienced the vision of Mother Kali, radiant, compassionate, alive. Waves of bliss engulfed him, and from that moment onward he lived in constant communion with the divine. This was the beginning of his transformation into Ramakrishna Paramahansa, a spiritual master whose very presence radiated holiness. Spiritual practices and realizations. What made Ramakrishna unique was the breadth and depth of his spiritual realizations. Unlike most saints who remained devoted to a single path, he explored multiple traditions within Hinduism and beyond, and attained the highest realization in each. Tantric practices. Under the guidance of Bhairavi Brahmani, a woman ascetic, Ramakrishna practiced complex tantric rituals. What normally required years of austerity came easily to him. His purity and sincerity enabled him to realize the truths of Tantra quickly. Vedanta. With the guidance of the wandering monk Totapuri, he entered into the practice of Advaita Vedanta, the path of realizing the formless absolute. For 3 days he struggled to overcome his attachment to the form of Kali. Finally he plunged his mind into the infinite ocean of consciousness and attained Nirvikalpo Samadhi, a state beyond all dualities, where the self and God became one. Bhakti paths. He immersed himself in devotion to Rama, Krishna and other deities, each time achieving genuine spiritual realization. Other religions. Perhaps most extraordinary was his exploration of Islam and Christianity. He practiced Islam with devotion, wearing Muslim dress, repeating the name of Allah and meditating as a Muslim devotee. In time he had a vision of Prophet Muhammad. Later he meditated on Christ, and in a divine vision Christ appeared before him, filling him with love and peace. Through these experiences, Ramakrishna came to the conclusion that all religions are true. Each is a path leading to the same ultimate reality. He declared, as many faiths, so many paths. This was revolutionary in the 19th century, when divisions of caste, creed and religion were strong. His life was a living demonstration of religious harmony. Marriage to Sarada Devi. While his spiritual life was unfolding, Ramakrishna's family worried about his growing indifferences to worldly matters. They thought marriage might anchor him. Thus, following the customs of the time, his marriage was arranged with a young girl named Sarada Devi from the village of Jairambati. At the time of marriage, Sarada was only 5 years old and Ramakrishna was in his 20s, a common practice in Bengal then. Years later, when Sarada reached maturity, she came to join him at Dakshineshwar. By then, Ramakrishna was deeply absorbed in his worship of the Divine Mother. Many wondered how he would treat his wife. Would he abandon her for his spiritual path, or would he return to the ordinary worldly life? but what unfolded was something unique in spiritual history. Ramakrishna received Sarada with great respect and affection, not as a wife in the conventional sense, but as a divine companion. In a profound spiritual act, he once placed Sarada on the seat of the goddess Sorosi and worshipped her as the divine mother herself. By offering his devotion to her, he sanctified their marriage as a spiritual union beyond physical desire. Their relationship remained pure, filled with love, respect, and companionship. Sarada Devi herself grew into a great spiritual personality, later revered as the Holy Mother. After Ramakrishna's passing, she became a guiding light for his disciples and countless devotees. Her compassion, humility, and wisdom carried forward his mission and provided the maternal touch to the Ramakrishna movement. Simplicity and divine madness. Despite his profound realizations, Ramakrishna lived like a child. His nature was simple, guileless, and utterly free from pride. He often spoke in parables, stories, and homely metaphors that even villagers could understand. Learned scholars and philosophers came to test him, but they left humbled, realizing that his spiritual insight far surpassed intellectual arguments. To many he seemed mad. He laughed, wept, danced, and sang in divine ecstasy. At times he would lose outward consciousness, absorbed in samadhi, but those who came near him felt the magnetic pull of his purity and the depth of his love. He often said, I am the mother's child. Whatever she makes me do, I do. His disciples and Swami Vivekananda. Among those who came to him were young men who would later become the torchbearers of his messages. The most prominent of them was Narendranath Datta, who later became Swami Vivekananda. Narendranath was initially skeptical of Ramakrishna, a brilliant student with a rational mind. He questioned everything. When he first asked Ramakrishna, Have you seen God? The saint replied, Yes, I see him more clearly than I see you. This answer struck Narendra deeply. Over time, through personal experiences and Ramakrishna's grace, Narendra accepted him as his master. Ramakrishna molded his disciples not just to be monks but to be messengers of spirituality for the modern world. He knew that his mission would be carried forward by Vivekananda, who later introduced Indian spirituality to the West and founded the Ramakrishna mission. Other disciples such as Mahendranath Gupta, the author of the Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna, Rakhal, later Swami Brahmananda, and others carried his message far and wide. Through them, the seed planted in Dakshineshwar grew into a worldwide spiritual movement. His final days. In the later years of his life, Ramakrishna suffered from throat cancer. Despite great physical pain, his mind remained immersed in God. His disciples cared for him at Kasipur Garden House, where some of the most profound spiritual conversations took place. He told his disciples not to think of him as an individual body but as the eternal spirit that was one with the divine. On 16 August 1886, Ramakrishna left his mortal frame, entering into eternal samadhi. For his followers, it was not a death but a union with the infinite. Teachings and philosophy. Ramakrishna's teachings can be summarized as follows. God realization is the goal of life. The purpose of human birth is to realize God, not to get lost in worldly pursuits. Harmony of religions. All religions are true. They are different paths to the same goal. One should not quarrel about faith. Love and devotion. The best way to reach God is through sincere love, surrender, and devotion. Purity and simplicity. A pure heart attracts God. One should live like a child, free from ego and cunningness. renunciation of ego and lust and gold. He often said are the greatest obstacles to spiritual progress. Direct experiences. Religion is not about arguments or books, but about direct realizations of the divine. His parables, such as the story of the chameleon that appeared in different colors to different people, symbolizing how God appears differently in different religions, remain timeless lessons. Legacy. After his passing, his disciples established the Ramakrishna Math and Mission, which became one of the largest spiritual and humanitarian organizations in the world. Guided by Swami Vivekananda, it combined spirituality with service to humanity, spreading education, healthcare, and relief to millions. Ramakrishna's influence also extended to thinkers, poets, and leaders of India's freedom movement. Figures like Rabindranath Tagore, Mahatma Gandhi, Roman Roland, and many others admired him deeply. His life continues to inspire seekers across religions and cultures. Conclusion. Thakur Ramakrishna Paramahansa was not a philosopher writing complex treatises or a social reformer shouting slogans. He was a simple man, a priest in a temple, who through sheer sincerity, love, and surrender to God realized the highest truths. He showed that God can be realized in this very life and that the path is open to all, irrespective of caste, creed, or religion. On his death anniversary, remembering him is not about mourning but about celebrating the eternal light he brought into the world. His message of love, purity, and harmony is more relevant than ever in a world divided by religion and materialism. His life was a song of the soul, a bridge between heaven and earth, and a testimony to the truth that God is real. God can be seen, and God dwells within all. The life of Thakur Ramakrishna Paramahansa was not just a story of one saint, but a guiding light for all humanity. Through his boundless love, unshakable faith, and realization of truth, he taught us that God can be seen, felt, and lived in every moment. His message of harmony among religions, purity of heart, and surrender to the divine remains timeless. On his death anniversary, let us not only honor his memory, but also try to walk on the path of truth and devotion that he showed. May his blessings continue to inspire us towards a life of peace, love, and spiritual awakening. Thank you very much for your patience. Request for like, subscribe, and share.